Very good morning to you, or maybe by the time this video goes out, good afternoon to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on Monday, the 22nd of July. With the squad having flown out on Sunday for their 16-day tournament in the US, we've just entered the 6th week of the transfer window, and we're still waiting for the announcement of our 4th summer signing in this window. If you're new to the channel, please do hit that like button. If you like what you hear, what you see, become a subscriber. Costs you nothing to subscribe to the channel, and all the content is free as always. So I'm going to give you a roundup of all the latest players, or the most prominent ones that we're still being linked to. But I'm going to focus primarily on the latest links. I mean, we've still got interest in Jean-Claire Todibo, N'Golo Kante, Reece Nelson, Jhon Duran, Carl Walker-Peters, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But now we can add to that list Genoa defender Johan Vasquez and 3 players from AC Milan. Excuse me, Alexis Sailormakers, Malik Thiaw, and Fikayo Tomori. Let's focus on Tomori, because with the attempts to try and, with the continued attempts to try and get Jean-Claire Todibo to agree to a move to West Ham, that's despite both West Ham and OGC Nice agreeing on a deal, a loan to buy, an obligation to buy deal. The player himself is still not favouring a move to East London. And Tomori is one of 3 players at AC Milan that we've expressed some kind of interest in. Now, Tomori is an interesting and very ambitious target, but I'm just not sure whether this one is going to really happen. Look, I'm not doubting that the interest is there, but Tomori is a very important player for AC Milan. Some would say should also continue to be an important player for England as well. He's only made 5 appearances for England in his career, and now maybe with Gareth Southgate gone, he might get an opportunity to be on the world stage again for England in the future. But as far as AC Milan are concerned, he's their linchpin in their defence since moving to the Italian club back in 2021 for a fee of around £30 million when he signed from Chelsea. He's made 147 appearances for the club, and they value him now at anything up to around 50 million euros. He's on a decent salary as well, something like £80,000 a week, and he would have to be made one of our highest paid players if a West Ham bid was successful. His undoubted ability is there to see. You know, good pace, great agility, strong in aerial duels, good ball distribution, great passing ability, and he's adaptable and comfortable in either a back 4 or a back 3. Now, at 26, he's still at the height of his career. He's got a lot of years left in him, but I'm just not certain. Like I say, there's something nagging about this particular transfer rumour. And it will not surprise me if this is another one that kind of came and went. But what would be in West Ham's ballpark area is his centre-back partner, and that is Malik Thiaw. Look, last October, Tim Steidten made an approach, apparently, to the players' agents to inquire whether Thiaw was available for a transfer. At the time, we were looking at potentially bringing him in the January transfer window. He was identified as a perfect replacement for the faltering Kurt Zuma and the want-away Nayef Aguerd. Now, as we know, no transfers were made in January except for David Moyes' preference to sign Calvin Phillips on loan. But in fairness, Thiaw suffered a hamstring injury back in November, which kept him out of action until February 2024. In fact, he missed 15 games during that injury spell. Now, the soon-to-be 23-year-old is not prone to injuries. It was the only injury that sort of kept him out for any considerable length of time. All the other injuries he's had have been minor knocks, missing a game here or there. With hopes of fading to get Todibo to sign, Steidten is said to have been in touch with AC Milan again about the player's availability for a potential move this summer. Now, back in October, it was suggested that West Ham could make a bid of around £17 million for the player. But with the player's recent return to action and return to form for AC Milan, they'll be looking at a fee now closer to around about 23 to £25 million for the three-timed capped German international. He's 6'4" tall, towering centre back, prominent in aerial duels as you would expect with that height, and in fact, he's got a higher ratio success rate in aerial duels than that of Fikayo Tomori. He's a solid defender who excels in one-to-one duels. He's got great ball distribution skills, great passing accuracy levels, and for such a young player, he reads the game really well, great positioning for ball interceptions and blocking shots. And whilst primarily a centre back, he has also played at right back as well as defensive midfield. So he's a versatile player that can play in a number of positions, but primarily he's a centre back. He's still learning his trade and can on occasion make a rash decision or two, leading to yellow cards. But we've got players in the squad that do that anyway. So even at 22, he's got quite a bit of time to sort of develop those skills and move away from making rash challenges. He joined AC Milan from German club Schalke back in 2022 on a 5-year deal for around about 8-9 million euros. AC Milan, if they were to consider selling him, and apparently there was interest in letting the player move on last January, if they were to sell him for 23, 25 million pounds, they would have trebled their money in the player in just a couple of years. He's an interesting prospect and would cost almost half the price that the Italian club would demand for Tomori. He's on a reported earnings of something like £15,000 a week. So even if we were to give him a massive pay rise to come to West Ham, it'd still be well below what Tomori would be asking for as well. There's a feeling that Thior could be a much better all-round alternative to Tomori over time. Watch out for this particular story. I think this one may develop as the days go by, and it won't surprise me if we put in an official bid for him. Now, on Sunday, I talked about the third AC Milan player that we have an apparent interest in. I did a brief show on Sunday, focusing specifically on Alexis Sailormakers. I don't know how to pronounce it. I know I've been jibed about that. He could be a potential alternative to the signing of either Kyle Walker-Peters or Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the right-back position. Now, I mentioned that the right-footed player started his career as a right-back, but since moved on to play both on the right and left side of attacking midfield. Now, it's thought that he could easily adapt into a right-sided wing-back role, which would suit the style of play and formations that Julen Lopetegui likes to adopt. He encourages his fullbacks to press forward into attacking areas. So let's see what the week holds for this particular player interest as well, where I'm told that a West Ham bid could be imminent. So there's this one, and there's Malik Thior as well as Tomori. Now, to move on, there's another central defender that apparently we're showing interest in, and that's Johan Vasquez, another name that's been mentioned to strengthen our defense. Now, the left-footed centre-back will be well known to his Mexican international teammate, Edson Alvarez. Vasquez is a Mexican international, and he first became prominent for his performances in the Olympics 2021, where a number of performances soon made Genoa bring him to the Italian club, initially on loan and then on a permanent deal. He's made 68 appearances for the club and only recently extended his contract there till 2027. And he's valued at around 8 to 10 million euros. The 25-year-old defender is described as a no-nonsense type centre-back, strong in aerial duels, and uses his physicality very well in one-on-one situations. His stats make for interesting reading, and we know that the scouting network at West Ham do look at player statistics. Last season, he was in the top 25% of centre backs in Italy for progressive carries of the ball out of defence into attack. He was also in the top 25% for successful take ons against opponents. He was ranked in the top 21% of centre backs for interceptions, top 30% for aerial duels, and the top 18% for blocks. Now, I don't quite know how much real focus there is on this player, but it's at the price quoted, he could be another Steiden surprise. So look out for this one as well as the week progresses. Now, what about some of the players that we've been linked to throughout most of the transfer window? Well, of course, there's still the small hope that we can cut a deal with Jean-Claire Todibo, where both Julian Lopetegui and Tim Steiden have apparently been in touch with the player to offer assurances that he would indeed be an integral part of West Ham's defence in the upcoming season. It was suggested that the player was initially keen on West Ham, only to have been put off by what seemed to have been a preference for the club to focus more on the Max Kilman deal than his. Now, whether that's true or not, or whether that's more journo speculation, I really don't know. But if that's all that has put the player off, then I dare say that an ongoing conversations with Lopetegui and Steiden could yet persuade the player to sign for us. Time will tell. Of course, there's the continued rumour of N'Golo Kante, or is there? As fast as this has come, it's beginning to die out, I think. As we know, we made an offer for the player, which has been turned down by the Saudi club that he plays for. And it's complicated as well. Kante's wages are on something like £500,000 a week, tax-free. And if he came to West Ham United, he'd be facing a hefty tax bill if he was to return playing in England. The Kante camp has apparently stated that the player is more than happy to take a massive wage cut to fit in with West Ham's pay structure, which is thought to be around, he might accept anything up to around £120,000, £130,000 a week. But nothing's been mentioned as to how Kante might overcome the tax bill that he might face. But I guess that's his problem to sort out. Now, Kante won't push for a move from Al Ittihad, and the club value him at much more than the £20 million that we've apparently offered. So much has been said also about Kante's last few years at Chelsea, where he was riddled with injuries. And at 33, many are questioning whether this is good money to spend on this player. And we could potentially, if we were sensible, be looking at alternative targets. One, for example, is Monaco's 25-year-old defensive midfielder, Youssouf Fofana, who's in the final year of his contract at Monaco, and he's made it clear to the French club that he won't be signing a new deal. He's available for around about £25 million. Now, quite how West Ham have not made an official approach for the player seems to bewilder many fans, when it could prove to be a masterstroke for the club. Now, whilst Kante is obviously a fantastic footballer, and even at 33, he's still got a lot to offer, Fofana, being 8 years younger and with a more a higher sell-on, a proper sell-on value, it does seem to be an all-round more sensible approach to make. But having said that, Kante played in every game for France during Euros 2024, whereas Fofana made only 3 sub-appearances, playing a total of 40 minutes. There's a continued rumour, that we're linked to Arsenal's Reiss Nelson. These are slowly diminishing, and that doesn't really surprise me at all. Now, whilst the deal to bring the player to West Ham could still happen, it's not as high a priority as securing players for other positions. Right back, centre back, central midfielder, left-sided attacking player, and striker. Nelson doesn't fit into any of these categories. And as for our right back situation, I suggested the other day that the interest in Aaron Wan-Bissaka might be used as leverage to get Southampton to come to a more agreeable deal on selling Kyle Walker-Peters to us. But that's still ongoing. It seems that we cannot agree a decent fee for the 27-year-old right back. Southampton is still holding out for around £23 million. The player is in his final year of his contract. West Ham won't pay that much. We believe that he's worth much more than around about 18 million rather than 23 million. Apparently, there is still some slight interest from his previous club, Spurs, but that interest has also died down somewhat. And like I said, Wan-Bissaka is the alternative to Walker Peters, but they both have their complications. The Walker Peters deal is that Southampton want too much money for him, but with the Wan-Bissaka deal, even though if he comes at around about 15 million pounds, his wages are significantly higher than they are of Walker Peters. So as the transfer window weeks pass by, I think the Walker Peters deal is still on the table, but it's going to take a bit of movement from Southampton to arrange that to allow that to happen. And what about Jhon Duran? Well, apparently Napoli made a move for Jhon Duran last week, and they were told, according to the Italian media, they were told that an agreement has already been made for the player to go to West Ham for a fee of 31 million pounds. Now, if that's the case, I expect this deal to be announced this coming week. The player is rumored to want to go on strike if nothing moves. No pun intended. But if the move doesn't happen, he's apparently not going to want to play for Aston Villa. So I don't think this deal is over yet, over just yet as well. And we may well see movement for the player this coming week, as well as movement for other players like Walker Peters. And what about players leaving? Well, there is now interest with a couple of clubs for Nayef Aguerd. Look, there was interest before, like Lille has expressed an interest in the past. Atletico Madrid have been showing an interest as well. And apparently, Atletico Madrid are due to make an offer, which is going to be well below the asking price that we're looking for. Apparently, Madrid are going to be looking at making an offer of around about 20 million pounds. We value the player at 30 million or more. One thing that is holding any deal back is, as mentioned before, his salary. It seems that neither French clubs nor Spanish clubs are able to pay the salary that he's on. And I've got a suspicious feeling that if we do want him to move sooner rather than later in order to open the door for a central defender to come in, then we might end up subsidizing some of his salary for some time during his move to another club. We did this with when Southampton approached us for Danny Ings. We offered to subsidise his wages. Now, look, Atletico apparently either going to make a low bid or they're going to make a bid to sign the player on loan with an option to buy. That doesn't suit West Ham. We want to sell the player. We don't want to send him out on loan. We would much rather sell the player. But maybe, just maybe, that's why we've been looking to loan Todibo to West Ham. Maybe a 1-year loan deal with Aguerd going on loan. But so long as there's an obligation to buy, would open the door for someone like Todibo to come in on loan for the year that we've agreed with Nice. So that's going to continue to materialize over the coming weeks as well. I dare say there are other players that we're linked to, other players that we're going to be looking to move on as well. But at this moment in time, these are the latest updates. There is one more, Ivan Toney. But with Brentford saying or insisting that they're going to want something like, I don't know, 40 odd million pounds or more for Toney, I don't really think that deal is likely to happen in West Ham's favour either. Right, that's the brief update. Thank you for watching. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, please do hit the like button. Please do hit the subscribe button, and I'll be back soon with more updates. Thank you for watching and have a great day.